So, Don, where did you get the idea for? You told me not to ask that. So, where are you from? Tell me your background.
So I'm originally from Masontown, PA, which is in Fayette County, which is like 50 miles south of the city.
Okay, tell me about that county. What's that like?
It's a country county.
Yeah.
Like so I grew up in a two light town, 7,000 people. I think I always joke that to give you an idea of how country it was, if you had a job at the bank, like if you were a bank teller, that's a damn good job.
Okay.
And like you could probably get the prettiest girl in town if you were a cook at Eden Park.
Okay.
Like, so yeah, I mean the bar was pretty low for us back then.
How many people live there?
7,000. I just told you that. Pay attention, right?
I'm actively listening to it.
Someone try to turn the interview on him.
I knew you would. My whole goal here is control Don. Don't let him interview me. All right. That's enough. So why Pittsburgh and how'd you come to it?
I guess I'd love to be able to invent an answer that makes me sound smart, but really I was a small town kid. I did not know anything about much outside of southwestern PA. Went off to school in Rochester, New York. That's where I kind of got a taste of the big city. You know, so to speak,
Rochester's big?
Not really.
I know.
And then from there, I still had family back here at the time, so I decided to come back.
Where'd you go to Rochester?
Rochester Institute of Technology.
Okay.
Yeah. And came back, and I just always knew I was going to come back to Pittsburgh because it was the closest big city from where I grew up.
Had you done anything entrepreneurial to that point?
Entrepreneurial. I mean, you know, shoveling snow is entrepreneurial. Right?
Yeah, no, good.
No, I think I always tell people that what's interesting is I really didn't, well, I guess whenever I was in high school, as a senior, that's when I first got a taste of computer programming. And, you know, I was a really good artist growing up, so I was going to go into graphic design when I went off to college. And after doing some computer programming and really liking it in high school, I went off to school and I just focused on design after that. And it wasn't until my senior year that there were people out there that were trying to build resources online for people to learn how to build websites and so forth. Like, you know, it was I graduated from college in '99, and right about that time, I think people started saying, okay, there's GeoCities, things like that, where you can build your site. But what if you want to build it from scratch? Because I mean, back then, you weren't just off the shelf buying hosting all the time and building your own site. The reason I always tell people that is because that was my senior year in college, right? So if I had been born 1 year earlier, right, I probably would have graduated from college having not found davesite.com, which taught me and actually rekindled my interest in programming my senior year, because it had been 1 year earlier, which means I probably wouldn't be doing this today. Because the reason I think I got here was whenever I graduated from college, and I came to my first design firm, which was Agnew Murray Smith, which is now ThoughtForm. They said, hey, there's this thing called the World Wide Web, right? And none of us know anything about it, and we need you to build websites.
So they were just doing print work?
Yeah, they were doing print work. Well, I mean, they were getting into it, but, you know, they needed somebody to kind of own that, or kind of at least, you know, focus on that. And because I had done that my senior year in school, I could say, I can give it a shot. So it's kind of weird. I probably wouldn't have ever gotten into building software if it wasn't for the fact that I was born when I was born. Yeah. And I think about everything that happened in my life. So.
Do you think that's all by chance?
Everything's by chance.
Okay.
Right? Like, I mean, I think even starting a company, right, you can say you did it, but the reality is, like, no, for some reason at that given point in time, synapses fired in your brain that made you say, fuck this job.
Okay, so you went on from, can everybody hear me without the mic?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
good. What? One of you. So you went from ThoughtForm to Wall to Wall?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And working on more web-related things?
I got that job at Wall to Wall because I walked in there and I said, I can get you into the world of really, really big websites.
Okay.
Which, I mean, is Polly here, they were kind of already in there, but, you know, I said I could get them in much, much bigger websites. And I think we did a pretty good job over 5 years.
Okay.
I've only had 2 professional jobs, 5 and 5, and our company's 4 years old, so we got 1 more year left.
So you went and pitched and you were selling Nazi and BuiltinPgh.
Well, I don't know. I mean, in certain areas, I'm an arrogant prick, and I think being a
Certain areas?
yes,
Okay.
I think being a good web designer was something I always thought I was. So, and also I think one thing I learned at Aggie Morey Smith was, you know, how to basically blend an understanding of information design and also applying that to kind of digital experience. I'm trying to talk over your head, but I don't think and you know, I went in there and you know those guys, and I just kind of said, you know, you can set and forget it if you put me on as the leader of that. And you know, at the time we only had a couple people really doing web stuff, and when we were done, we were like 8 of us were focusing on like web and print stuff. I think.
Over a period of 5 years.
Yeah, maybe yeah, something like that. And or at least we tried to recruit people who had kind of dual capabilities. We even got some print designers who design websites, and you know.
So, what was the push or pull to leave Global?
I think for me it was, I think the funny thing was, it was actually years ago whenever I got divorced the first time. And then and my mom died a year earlier. And that was the first, because I grew up really, really poor. So I was always taking care of all kinds of people. So that was the first time in my life that for the first time I could focus on myself, right? And it was tough because I had realized that I hadn't spent a lot of time thinking or being curious as to what, you know, I wanted to do with the rest of my life.
Because you needed to work for a big firm because of that pressure, outside pressure.
Well, no, you think about it though. How many 65-year-old designers do you see? Right? Like that are like, you know, you go to the Addy Awards, you're not seeing a guy with no hair, gray hair, whatever, with a cane. I just said like, I think they just kill us after like 50 or something. Yeah, I was joking. That was serious. So I thought, you know, I got to figure out something else. But I remember I'd fallen back in love with computer programming, and especially whenever I was doing websites and I was dealing with Flash. And Flash at the time, you know, I wasn't using the timeline. If anybody knows Flash, I started using ActionScript and so forth, and I really started falling in love with logic. I just love the logic of software engineering.
Okay.
And then I started thinking, okay, so I have a good, you know, I get almost 10 years of business experience under my belt. I know how to build websites on the front end. I know how to build them on the back end. I didn't know how to build them on the back end, but I was going to learn that skill. And I think I had a really good sense for design and user experience. So I said, that's a pretty good mix for an internet entrepreneur. And, you know, I thought, okay, maybe I'll try it. When I first started feeling that way, probably around, what are we at, 2012 now? Like 2006, something like that's when I really started feeling like, you know, if I apply myself, maybe I can, you know.
Were you seeing other people have wins that you wanted to replicate, or?
Yeah, I think that was around about the time that, I mean, if you guys know, like Web 1.0, 2.0, a lot of people kind of boil it down to being, Web 1.0 was kind of e-commerce, Web 2.0 was kind of social. What I started seeing was this philosophy that if you were technical, you could start a company on your own. You didn't need a lot of funding. So I started digesting a lot of TechCrunch 40, demo, you know, people paying $20,000 to present. And I started getting this, and I read Founders at Work, which is a really great book to kind of, you know, these are guys who built Delicious, Google, and you just start kind of hearing this repetitive story of just build something, put it out there, it starts to become a disaster, you get funding, you figure it out. And I thought, that sounds like a pretty fun ride, especially with the skills that I have, so, you know.
So you saw a lot of things you could emulate coming from the West Coast. What made you decide to do it here?
Was I moving to California? like just on a whim? I would say San Francisco.
San
San Francisco. I think somebody said it's a Hollywood for geeks.
Yeah.
You know, like you know, it's just you go out there with these bright-eyed, you know, that you're gonna, you know, crush the world, but you keep thinking that Mark Zuckerberg, there's like 50 Mark Zuckerbergs. No, there's one. And you think any other successful CEOs? No, I wasn't even thinking about it like that. Even when I started the company, I thought if I could replace my salary, you know, that was pretty awesome.
Okay.
So, you know, I think when people tell you that they're going to try to tackle the world, most people start up a business wanting to replace their salary. That's what I did.
Yeah. So you saw these things to model out there. Was there anything here you could look to, or? I mean.
Oh no. I mean, there was no startup community whenever I first. I mean, there was an up and coming one right towards the end, because I think a lot of people don't know that I tried to start another company before.
What was that?
It was called. By the way, I'm horrible with naming things. I tell with the Resumator. Join Sources, and I have a lisp too, so I just gave myself the worst name. Join Sources.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that 2 THs?
F you, man. Screw you.
So what was like out there?
You know, it's like they often say when you start a business, you got to kind of do something that you're familiar with, right? Because it's a pain point. And for me, it was we had a lot of clients at Wall to Wall who wanted a website, they needed a CMS, but they also needed like this custom app.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what if I could build a CMS? Actually, even before that, wow, I never told this part of the story. Even before that, Joint Sources, the idea behind it was a pain in the ass to collect content for building a website. Like, you know, giving the client a place to upload images, text, everything else or whatever. And I was developing this really awesome, like, little file management system that allowed you to upload files, collaborate on files.
Okay.
Then this guy named Aaron Levy out of California came out with this idea named Box, and we basically looked at that and said that's probably going to crush us.
Okay.
So, for the stupidest reason, I like the logo. We had a JS logo. I turned Joint Sources into a CMS that was not just like the ability to build a website, but to also have, I call them like vertical application, like vertical based applications. So like if you're a law firm, you need your CMS, but then you also need an attorney directory, and you can't buy that off the shelf. So with our system, you'd have a library of we thought, you know, we could make a really sticky subscription-based service if, you know, you knew you could find page building any place, CMS any place, but you need this attorney directory or this dealer locator or this whatever. The problem is the whatever was hard to figure out.
So it's relevant to a specific vertical.
Yeah, okay. This is before Amazon. Yeah. So it was cool though, because I went up against Bossa Nova Robotics 3 times in the enterprise business plan competition that Tech Council ran. Yeah. And I did a business plan, which is funny. I think I won early the first 2 times, or at least I won in my category. Because you know, the facade of good design, it just looked well formatted, and all my feedback was like, "This is well formatted." I had like projections in there. I was like, "Yeah, $50 million. How dare you?" I called them. What was the question?
No, so you're talking about Joint Sources.
Yeah. So I made a mistake too, because I had everything involved except family. I had friends. I had friends. You know, people say friends, family, and fools. You can also have friends, chicken shits, and something else, right? You know, because I was ready to quit. I was like, fuck my job, I'm quitting, right? Let's do this. Other people were like, you know, tiptoeing slowly out of it. And, you know, we were all, 2 of us were remote. And, you know, just trying to start a business, arguing every night because you can't, you know, you're trying to assign people things, but you can't manage them on a day-to-day basis.
So how long was the life cycle of this firm?
It was it was a virtual company. It was probably like a year and a half of my life.
Okay. You were still working at Wall?
Yeah. Still,
okay.
Yeah.
But you were getting outside signaling from, you know, that you win business plan competitions on it.
Yep.
What was the depth now? What made you full?
I think the death knell was that's around the time I met Jim Jin from Alpha Lab, and he convinced me to apply, and we applied for it, and we didn't get in because they thought it was too competitive with what I was doing at Wall to Wall.
Oh.
And then we were looking at how do we, because you think about it, we were trying to be a hosting company pretty much, ton of websites. And we started looking at the infrastructure costs of that. We had about 10 grand in the bank. And
So you were making a...
No. I won $10,000 total from the enterprise competition. Right? Yeah. So the problem was to put together a hosting back then. There was this thing called Moso that came out, which eventually is what Rackspace is now, like their cloud. But we couldn't find anything that we could scale with at the dollars we had. Like we needed 10 grand. We needed, I think, 20 grand just to get up and running with some of these folks. Because Amazon didn't exist.
Right.
So we kind of looked at it and we thought, their interest is waning. We got 10 grand, let's just divide it up. I made sure I kept most of that.
Okay.
Damn it.
How many people at your peak? How many employees did you
4.
4. Okay.
Yeah. Probably 2 people who
Were
were.
they here?
No.
Okay.
No, 1 was here. 2 people who were about it, and 2 people who were pussies.
Okay.
So I don't mind. The thing is, I don't mind saying that because it's like I think there's too many people out there who want to wear the entrepreneur T-shirt.
It's sexy, right?
They don't want to jump out the fucking window. They don't. Like I quit a well-paying job to start a business. And I think other people like if you're trying to start a company. And you have a friend who you want to work with, and you're willing to quit your job, and they're not a founder, and you don't work on it, and then, whenever it starts to, it's like investors, right? I love telling investors after they, they didn't want to put money in the first round, and now they want to put in the second round. That's the greatest feeling, yeah, you know what? Whenever you don't take the risk, you don't get the reward,
right.
I think you need to tell people that, this is not easy, I think, especially around Pittsburgh, people think that this shit's easy. This is hard as hell to do this, right?
Well, what's the adage that we're the only people that quit a 40-hour work week to take up a 120-hour work week?
Yeah, and I think, there's a lot of punks out there. They're entrepreneurs, and I think they need to be called out for that,
Well, there's a difference between an entrepreneur, and a doctor.
Yeah, think about a guy like Elon Musk. That guy's paid. He could just run around and just commit felonies and pay off cops if he wants. Right? That's what he can do.
Or he can do that.
Or he can spend half his fortune trying to build an electric car, right? Which who knows if it will be successful. But that's a guy who's swinging the bat.
Yeah.
But I think one thing I guess what I'm saying is something I learned whenever I was out in California that, I remember I was in Santa Barbara, whenever I was the firm Rincon was trying to get me to take their money.
What was this for?
Our Series A round.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was sitting there, and up comes Kevin O'Connor. If you guys don't know who Kevin O'Connor is, he founded DoubleClick, which was basically the foundation for Google's business, quite frankly, or a significant portion of their business. In terms of the syndication of ads all across the web or whatever. And this guy is sitting there and he's just talking, he's trying to convince me that this idea he has, find the best is the next best thing. And I'm thinking dude, I'm nobody, right? And why are you talking to me? And I asked asked John Greathouse, he's on my board now, why people over there were like that. And they said that we just have respect for guys who swing the bat, or guys and gals who swing the bat. So in other words, you don't have to be successful. If you quit your job, you try to start a business, and you fail, you have the utmost respect of anybody who's ever tried to do that exact same thing.
Even here.
Yeah, even here. That's here too.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Okay, so that goes out in flames. You try your best. You've been talking to Jim. You decide to. You still have the entrepreneurial bug, or?
Yeah.
Are you running scared?
The thing that what's weird is I pivoted immediately to I was like, I gotta do something else.
Okay. So you took that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I called it. I can go through the whole story of how I came up with Resumator.
Is there any other Resumator story? Okay, do like a 2-minute.
All right. So long story short, originally I wanted to democratize. I thought Monster and Career Builder were making it difficult for every job to have a voice. There's a ton of jobs out there that could be filled if people could find them, but there's this $400 paywall that Monster and Career Builder put up at the time. I thought I could tear that down by creating this kind of democracy in terms of access to resumes, where if you were a job seeker, you could put your resume up on Resumator, which is what we were trying to get. And there was a social contract between you and the employers. The employers would have unlimited access to resumes, but they had to leave a pithy comment, one line, what they were thinking anyways when they saw your resume, in order to move on to the next resume when they were browsing. But the idea being you'd get 60, 70, 80, 100 comments on your resume instead of just basically putting your resume. By the way, somebody can steal this, but I will probably catch up to you and try to do it. We plan on doing this someday. That's what I mean, like you share your ideas, whatever, you know, out hustle me, right? You know, and I like that idea. I still want to do it, but I couldn't find a business model in it because I wanted to do SaaS. It's so hard to go out of business with a SaaS. If you can keep your churn low, it's so hard to go out of business with a SaaS unless you, like, I don't know, get caught murdering people in your office. That's like murder 2 times. I gotta get 5 more in before you get afraid.
Is everybody familiar with the SaaS model? You can say no. Okay.
In fact, I would say if you don't know and you don't speak up, like, nobody cares then. Nobody's gonna be able to educate you, right? Like, I hate people hide ignorance. Yeah, you shouldn't know. I ask questions all the time about stuff.
I don't know what it is.
There you go.
If anybody else admits it, you don't count. It means a software as a service. So in other words, like it's basically delivering your software over the web. So you know you have it. It's kind of like you think about Gmail. Gmail is software as a service. It's just on the web. So thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah. You win a prize. Find me after. Okay, so you wanted to build a SaaS company, you just didn't know what. That's what?
Yeah, I just didn't. Well, no. I mean, I was at the point where I knew I wanted to build a SaaS company, but that wasn't a SaaS. I'm not going to charge a job seeker to go to work, right? JobFox.
Yeah.
I turned down an offer one time. A company called JobFox came to me and they offered us $1 if we sent the email of every single one of our candidates their way, because they were selling resume rewriting services. And I said, this something smells fake. By the way, that'd have been about $100,000 a month, just like that.
You could have got for that space for affiliate, you could get way more for lead gen.
Yeah, but I sent my resume into them just as a test, and they ripped it to shreds. They tried to get you to pay $300 to get it rewritten, and I had to contact my lead there, and I said, you know, I've gotten 2 damn good jobs off of this resume. Like, you guys are full of shit.
Okay, so you come up, you want to build this SaaS, and you didn't think that Monster and was great.
Yeah. So I wanted to pivot. Yeah, I thought that, you know, I still cared about democratizing access to jobs, and the reason I had the idea was because, whenever you're a designer, you work at a design. I have no background in recruiting, none, zero. What I do have is unbelievable arrogance that as an interface designer, and by the way, it's a dirty little secret when you work in design firms. Like when you walk in there and you're describing your problem, the people across the table from you are artists who just turned into this thing called commercial art. They don't have a business degree like you do. But what we are is damn good guessers. Like if you need a website, I don't care if you're selling Purina dog food or Crest toothpaste or you're trying to get people to go to a museum, we just guess and we're real good guessers. The reason I say that is because that makes you fearless to enter any space. In other words, you fall in love with the problem you're solving, not necessarily the vertical. And I hated the fact that whenever, especially towards the end, whenever it was really difficult to recruit, it was so hard for wall-to-wall, this great design firm, to really get good candidate flow. Jobs didn't have a voice. And I thought if I could democratize jobs having a voice, and that's when Indeed and Simply Hired, some of these bigger sites started,
Were you looking at that space because you were actually looking for a job at the time?
No.
No?
No, not at all.
You saw it was broke.
Yeah, and I tell people, I call it the entrepreneurial coma.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could romanticize how I came up with this particular idea, but I think it was just a mental pivot from the first idea that I was really interested in, which was democratizing, access to jobs. In other words, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to basically give every job a voice, so every job seeker had a chance to find it. And I just flipped it around to Resumator.
Okay.
And
So, are you a community builder by nature?
A community builder by nature.
So you try to democratize 2 spaces.
Think about what you just asked. Am I a community builder? Nobody sits at home and says, am I a community builder?
Nobody uses the word democratize 6 times either.
Hold on. You do whenever you know your pitch. Yeah, it's called consistency. Yeah. Exactly. You know, you go to an investor and tell them the 3 different things of what you do, you're not going to raise money.
By nature, you like to get people off their asses.
No.
No? What was the pain you were trying to solve by democratizing 2 spaces?
I wanted a person, I call them deputized hiring managers. They have a full-time job. Hiring's not their expertise. They're not a hiring manager. They've been deputized. Imagine putting this invisible badge on their chest. They don't have a class, but they just poke it right in the skin and say, you have to do your full-time job very well, plus you have to hire 2 people under you. It's tough.
Yeah. Were you doing that?
I mean, 1 at a time, I think, at wall to wall, but it's still a pain in the butt, especially whenever, you know, if you're an illustrator, a mechanical, or any type of designer that's not a graphic designer, if you can't get a job, you become a graphic designer. So you get a shitload of resumes.
Right.
So that was a big pain in the butt, getting all those candidates and not having a process for reviewing them. And somehow I just decided that was an interesting business, that would solve a problem. And I wish I could give you like this epiphany moment, but I don't.
You just work on it.
Yeah, I'm like knee deep in helping, you know, presidential campaigns and whoever else hire, and I don't know why.
Okay. So you caught the problem, and you reapplied to Alpha Lab?
Yeah, reapplied.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they like the problem you're solving. You come out.
Well, here's the thing. I was a sole founder. I didn't think that it was so hard. I didn't spend much time. Plus, I didn't think it was going to be easy to convince somebody to quit their job and believe in me. So I told Alpha Lab when I was pitching them that I was going to launch the first day of Alpha Lab.
Oh.
That was my goal. So I'd been working on it from August 2008 all the way up to January 6, 2009. And I thought that, you know, if they saw me as a sole founder and I didn't have anything built.
Yeah, you thought you had to do that to get it.
Yeah, I thought, And meanwhile, future people, they let people in all the time like that. So it kind of sucks. But either way, it allowed.
Did you have it built?
Yeah, I had it built. Yeah. And I launched it January 6, 2009, and 1 month later, I had my first customer.
Okay.
Carthage College out of Wisconsin.
Okay, how'd you get that?
Everybody always asks that, right? They found her. Oh, well, I got some good press hits early on with CNET and Mashable, and then that drove some interest, and those people were basically in the system, and then 30 days later, they subscribed.
So what were the big benchmarks you hit while at Alpha Lab?
Benchmarks. Oh my goodness, my Alpha Lab story was a disaster. That's kind of the funny little secret. Like, I punked out big time 1 month into Alpha Lab.
What do you mean?
I had Grasshopper, which used to be Got Vmail, David Hauser, really smart guy. They approached me for a full-time job that paid a ton of money.
Okay.
To help them launch this thing called Grasshopper Labs.
Nobody know what Grasshopper is?
No idea.
Do you guys know what Chargify is?
No. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So they brought me in to work on Grasshopper.
Tell them what Grasshopper is.
Grasshopper is a virtual phone system. It allows small businesses to sound like big professional businesses through a virtual PBX. And
You're gonna build a labs for like you're gonna be like.
yeah, like basically David and they were kind of feeling this startup kind of accelerator incubator bug a little bit, you know, way back then, and they wanted me to kind of head up the rapid iteration of product ideas.
Here?
No, well, yeah, I was working remote.
Yeah. Okay.
And the first idea we came up with was Chargify, because back then you couldn't buy a billing system. Like there's like Recurly and all these other systems. So, you know, a guy named Michael Klett and I, we basically planned it out, and now I think Lance Wally, I think he founded, what's that Rails company? Somebody here knows Lance Wally. Come on.
Nope, I don't.
Engine Yard, which is they basically I think they did Ruby on Rails hosting. Raise your hand if you're an engineer. Shame on you if you don't know what freaking Engine Yard is actually. Google that shit. But anyway, they run it now. But when I punked out and I took that job.
Did you do well at Alpha?
Well, yeah. I mean, candidly. trying to figure out what to say since this is recorded. I mean, long story short, they had said that they were going to also invest in the product.
Okay.
And, you know, this is, I mean, I think it's important for people to understand too, is that the person you're seeing up on the stage here is battle worn, you know? And what I mean by battle worn is, I was all kinds of dumb stuff back in the day, like, yeah, I'm gonna go work, and then, you know, we're trying to negotiate terms, and they're saying, you know, part of our investment in your company is going to be your salary. And I said, so as I'm working for you, you're gaining equity in my company, whatever.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, so that's where you learn the lesson. The way it begins is the way it ends. So luckily, we never got to the point that we had anything equity-wise on paper. But I totally was focusing so much on having to build up Charlton, which was like basically a recurring billing system. That company still exists today.
So you're building Chartify concurrent.
I designed Chartify. I mean, they've added features to it, but that's another. They have 900 customers. I don't know how much revenue they generate, but they're generating revenue based on the scale of that.
Subscription.
Yeah. So like literally, Michael Platt and I planned, built, and executed that in a month.
While you were building, while you were building Resumator?
Well, yeah.
You kind of left out
wait, no.
Yeah.
Because I was focusing on Chartify. I mean, somebody's paying my salary, right? I gotta kind of get stuff done.
Okay, so what made you wake up and it didn't get better, so you.
I realized that what I was like, where my asset was just sitting on the table.
Okay.
Yeah, and also I realized like I don't need the money.
Yeah.
You know, so I quit.
Okay.
You know, and but that was bad. I mean, so my Alpha Lab experience was tough because they spent a lot of time helping me work through a lot of these issues of, you know, should I take this job?
Yeah.
Should I not? And they were fortunate. They were nice enough to like let me figure it out on my own.
Cool.
But yeah.
So when'd you get back around to building?
August.
Okay.
2009.
When was that cycle? Was that after?
That was after.
Okay.
It ended in May.
Okay.
So I got back, well, I would like to say 2009 was like me becoming an entrepreneur, like punking out big time, and then deciding, okay, I'm going to actually try to do it.
Were you getting signals from the marketplace that this was the opportunity to do this, is what to build?
No, not at all. I mean, we made $11,000 the first year.
Oh.
You know,
Well, there's other signals you can get, right? You can get love from the press or some strategic partner.
I mean,
investors.
See, this is interesting. Like, when you don't know what a strategic partner. Like if you ever hear me talk to you and I say something like you should start thinking about getting a strategic partner right now, it's because I had nobody ever sat down with me and explained to me that, hey, you know what, you built a really easy to use recruiting software for a small business. You should go to like ADP or whoever else and say, hey, I have a great product, we should do an OEM solution. That whole sentence, the whole sentence does not come naturally. That comes from That comes from way smarter people saying to you, you're fucking up and here's what you should do. You know? No, I wasn't, no, I was thinking, like every single time somebody subscribed, it was, I don't know, it was an orgasm.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You were checking your phone.
Oh, check my, oh, no.
No. For
No.
new customers? Was somebody manning that, or?
It was me.
Yeah, just you?
Yeah, here's another thing. I didn't even get an intern.
Okay.
I didn't even have an intern. Like it was like I can't even tell. Like don't follow. Like my story of how I got to where our company is not a good one to follow. It's just not. You know, like I think what helped us persevere through everything was we had a great product. Right? All of my shortcomings, everything, the fact that we had a good product kept having people recommend us to their friends and so forth.
All right, so when did you like put on your big boy pants and start going after like the hot companies? And when did you know that would be the key to?
It wasn't in 2010.
Okay.
2010 was us realizing that we had an under-featured product.
Okay. And
sometimes when I say us, it's still me at this point. I hired my first intern. Well, when what you're saying is, I don't think we ever really, there wasn't any strategy behind it. Like, I think people, that's how I say, like, you know, founders need to get off the damn pedestal, because I didn't think strategically really that much at all, except for let's go after, you know, startups.
Yeah.
I think Dropbox was a really cool customer we had early on. We lost them since then. But we were going after Y Combinator companies to try to basically, these are funded companies.
Well,
they're
Sizzle.
fast growing. They're Sizzle. I wasn't even thinking about the Sizzle. I was just thinking, hey, I was thinking I read Hacker News, right? Let me just post something in Hacker News. So I think that's a big thing too. Is that I think a lot of people are intimidated by starting a business because they think that the people who've built a business that's growing somehow have extra special skills. We don't. Well, I think what we do is we're willing to risk more. We're willing to just throw shit up against the wall and see if it sticks. We try not to be as analytical, and then eventually luck meets up with preparation. You know what I mean? Which I really do believe.
So you said us. There is an us. There's more than people you hire. Who is the us? Who are your advisors? Who are your champions?
The folks at Alpha Lab and Innovation Works are my champions.
Cool.
I think that eventually, I mean, to kind of give to kind of race ahead a little bit, through 2010, it was just me and it was David, who was my intern. And
For a full year.
for a full year.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great strategy to hire interns when they're juniors, because you can basically say to them, like, by the time you're a senior, you can learn the business. And if we're still around, we'll probably be able to afford to give you a job. Right? So that's a great way to kind of hire, like you kind of have a rock star entry-level employee as opposed to somebody who's, just happy to do anything.
Yeah.
What was the question?
Well, so I mean, who is the us besides the people that you would hire? There's a
Oh,
it takes a village, right?
Yeah, it does, but I think the problem I did was I isolated myself by going in. I got an office and I was in there and we were working.
Where was this?
Riverside Center for Innovation. It's over by the Confluence building. It's a big
Second,
tall.
right?
Yeah.
No,
Is that
it's
second?
not.
No, it's on River Avenue.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think one of the things I can honestly say is, if you guys understand, like you guys, who went to the last demo day? Anybody? Okay. Where was it at? A big ass theater, right? Like my demo day was an Alpha Lab. Like this whole entire startup support ecosystem, nothing like this existed. Like you didn't go anywhere except for Alpha Lab, and I'd been there enough. I was like, I don't have to go there anymore, except to help, other entrepreneurs. So, we were kind of on an island. Like it was just us trying to build a business. IW obviously came in and would support us and help us, but I think what I was missing was somebody to sit down and tell me, you need to, and by the way, this was I eventually came to this realization that I need to put in place customer support, and / success, sales, marketing, biz dev. Like the fact of the matter is that no matter what, all those roles exist in your company. It just depends who's doing them,
Well,
right?
it was you.
Yeah, it was just me, and I sucked at most of them.
He was all putting fires out, so you had to pick which one to put out first.
Yeah, I mean, we were doing stuff like, let me go to buysoads.com and buy a couple ad units for $400 for a little $25,000 we had or whatever,
Right.
and then it wouldn't work, and we would panic and we would turn it off or whatever. Just a bunch of trial and error, and not even like some people will talk about like we tried a bunch of things and as if they had some like linear process where we tried this, we said no, we tried this, we said no, and then eventually came with our strategy. No, it's this panic of oh my god, we just lost $400, back it off, turn it off.
While we have a second, does anybody have any questions up to this point? Not forward-looking. James, you want to come up?
Yeah, sure. So you said,
The answer is magic.
all right.
Magic. Thank you. Sit down.
You said that it took you a month from when you launched on January 6th to get your first customer. A lot of the advice I get is that you should sell even before you've got anything built. It seems like that's something I hear from many, many people. It seems you did the exact opposite of that.
No, we had a 30-day trial. It was a 30-day trial, so we had to let them use the product for 30 days.
Okay. So then,
Plus, the way I look at it too is when you're in a SaaS business, you're selling every day. Every day that your product is up, that you're adding features, that you're fixing bugs, that people are using it, you're selling every single day.
did you have those guys on the trial? Did you have any of those lined up before you launched?
No, not at all.
So it was almost stealth before January 6th.
Nah, stealth is bullshit. No, it wasn't stealth at all. It was just I'm one human.
Well, it's not intentionally stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Great House said this the other day. Like, how many things are stealth? Where like, oh, you're like, I mean, cure for cancer. Yeah, keep that shit, behind the But like your mobile app that takes photographs a different way. Like, oh my goodness, Instagram's never going to catch up to you.
I told you, tell me.
Yeah. But anyway, no, it was. I didn't do any pre-selling or anything. I didn't do any market validation either. But again, that's the arrogant side of me saying I know how to build products that people need.
That's the good guesser.
Yeah, the good guesser. Right.
Anybody else have any questions up to this point? Are we going okay? Speed okay? Too fast? Too slow? See you tomorrow.
What were you bad at and what were you good at?
You mean, what do you mean, like a
Biz dev.
period? Oh, if I go through them? All right. I was good at product. I was bad at sales. I was bad at marketing. I was bad at customer support and success. I was bad at everything else but product. I was pretty good at engineering too, right? Pretty good, not great. I think an awesome and humbling experience at the exact same time is when because I tell a lot of people about the piece of humble pie. Like, you got to eat a piece of humble pie early on and realize that you're not good at everything. And you're probably going to suck at most things. And that's why there's these things called teams. That's why there's these people who go to school for marketing. There's these people who go to school, or people who are actually believe, like, I want to be a salesperson. I think salespeople are the craziest people on earth because it's so damn difficult, right? But there's a lot of people who get a rush out of that. So I was bad at everything, dude. Like,